gentlemen, would please take your seats.
Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, surgeon in the Canadian Army, standing over his friend's body in 1950, penned this poem. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amidst the guns below. We're the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved and were loved. Now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up a quarrel with the foe. To you from felling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die. We shall sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders. 107 years ago, Flanders Fields was a major battle theater in the First World War. 1 million soldiers from more than 50 different countries were wounded, missing, or killed in action. Here, entire cities and villages were destroyed, their populations on the run. Today, that peaceful region, the hair of the heart of Belgium, still beats witnesses this history in monuments, museums, and cemeteries. The Flanders American Cemetery is the only World War I cemetery in Belgium. It lies on the battlefield where the 91 infant divisions fought during the Après-Lise campaign. Perhaps you know the history of infantry. It comes from the word infant. During the last day of the war from 30 October to 11 November 1918, 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month was named Armistice Day for America, and later America named it Veterans Day. The United Kingdom, Canada, France named it Remembrance Day. And today is the resting place for 368 fallen soldiers and 43 more commemorated in Europe. Today, in the Veterans Day, we have several military guests from the United Kingdom and different other places. Poppy seeds can be dormant for 100 years, and some of them wear poppy seeds today. And these dormant lie there for 100 years waiting for just the right soil conditions for them to grow. Falling bombs produced these conditions that year. In Flanders Fields, 1918.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Frank Roberts. Before we get started, we want you all to realize what the American Legion Post 235 has done for us today. They started rearranging this room last night when the rain was coming down, and we want to give them a great round of applause for letting us use this room. And today we gather in a unique way for this day of remembrance. On this day we can be proud of the significant and heartfelt efforts we will make to salute those who serve, if not in person, but absolutely in spirit. We thank you for your understanding and appreciate you being with us. And it's nice and cool in here. The conditions of the day in no way diminish our intended purpose of gathering here today. The Freedom Bell is tolled the 11th hour, and the famous poem by John McRae in Flanders Fields remind us why we are celebrating with our friends from all parts of the world at this joint Veterans Day ceremony and Remembrance Day celebration. A salute to our friends who are coming to visit with us for Remembrance Day. Thank you, Megan Gordon from Cross Point Church, for tolling the 11th hour. It would have been on the Great Freedom Bell, but it was on the smaller bell today. And to Daly and Lieutenant Colonel Frank Roberts for helping us set the stage with that wonderful poem in Flanders Fields. Please help me welcome our stage party who helped make this a special day. From Eglin Air Force Base, 96th Test Wing Commander Brigadier General Mark A. Massaro, the Mayor of Eglin Air Force Base. Celebrating Remembrance Day, we welcome members and their families from the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia who are stationed at Eglin's Joint Strike Fighter program. We welcome their commanding officer, Royal Navy Commander Chris Wilcox. Give him a round of applause. Representing the 7th Special Forces Group Airborne, and no stranger to our community, former Group Commander and now Garrison Deputy Commander, Colonel Retired Patrick Colleton. Representing Herbert Field and the Special Operations Command 1st Special Operations Command Wing Commander, Colonel Patrick Deary and Mrs. Deary. Chaplains for today's ceremony are 7th Special Forces Airborne, 3rd Battalion Chaplain Captain Marcus Merriquin, and Okaloosa Walton Salvation Army Corps Officer Lieutenant James Miller, our chaplain. We are also honored to have Representative T. Patterson Manning, former judge, Brigadier General retired United States Army. General. We're honored to have Mayor Jean Hood from Cinco Bayou. Jean. Mayor Mark Franks from the town of Shalimar. And our cemetery host, the Mayor of Fort Walton Beach, Dick Raniers. We're also grateful, give a grateful pass to Mayor Chris Stein and Mayor Pro Tem Council Member April Sutton from Mariester, who I think are still organizing the Veterans Day Parade, but we'll see how that works out for them. Give them a round of applause. To my left is a tribute to the memory of prisoner of war, Medal of Honor recipient, Colonel George E. Bud Day, Brigadier General Day. Also to my left are MIA, Choctawhatchee class of 1966, graduate of Army Special Forces, graduate of Choctawhatchee High School, and Army Special Forces Sergeant Fred Allen Gassman, lost in Vietnam in 1971 and never recovered. We also salute three friends with significant careers in service to our nation. who never really retired but continued service to their fellow man in our community. Chief Master Sergeant Walt Richardson, a Tuskegee Airman who used his voice and talent at these ceremonies for many years to enrich us all. His jacket is over here, Tuskegee Airman Walt Richardson. His daughter's over here too. Chief Master Sergeant William P. Bilzell, a Veterans Tribute Tower Board member of a decade ago, and Master Ceremonies Emeritus, and Bill Zimpa and Bill Zupa, past president of the Veterans Tribute Tower Committee, whose tower we now stand near, helping us take time to remember. Let them hear your hello. We salute our friends from Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom of the historic 80 Squadron. Had the pleasure of going when they were redesignated recently out of the base. And quite a ceremony, and we're just delighted that they're come here again to join with us at Veterans Day here and Remembrance Day there. Thank you all. Round of applause. We proudly recognize members of each armed services. The United States Army, if you're Army, stand if you can. United States Army. United States Marine Corps. We have any Marine Corps? And our host today, United States Navy. Where's the United States Navy? Terry James back in the back. Our host. United States Coast Guard. Any Coasties here today? Coast, round of applause. There we go. United States Air Force. Do we have any Air Force? Thank you. And United States Space Force. Space Force. There we go. We're also proud to recognize those who served during our wars and conflicts. The Korean War veterans, any Korean War veterans? Just Cause, Panama. Just Cause, General, thank you. Desert Storm. Desert Shield. Second Black War. Global War on Terror. And last but not least, let's remember our World War II friends, and especially our friend, the late Lieutenant Colonel Sam Lombardo. Much like our greatest generation who served during World War II, some individuals felt that they shouldn't go on the honor flight that Congressman Miller sponsored to our nation's capital because they were stationed in the supply room at Fort Benning or some other place. We sometimes had to exert congressional leadership pressure to convince them that they were part of the victory no matter where they served. In that vein, until 2025, we will continue the 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War. This is a national effort to remember and thank not only those who served in country during Vietnam, but also those who served on active duty in the United States Armed Forces, regardless of location. Those members who served during the period of November 1, 1955 to May 15, 1975 are eligible to receive the Vietnam Veteran Lapel Pin. On behalf of the great nation, we salute you. Please stand if you are able. And today we recognize and say thank you to those who served. In that light today, we recognize a local veteran who served as flight surgeon in the United States Navy. He served in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive, treating battlefield casualties. Following active duty service, this veteran joined the Air Force Reserve and served from 1975 to 1985 as hospital commander at Newton Field, Florida. He graduated from high school in Centerville, Mississippi in 1948 and graduated from the University of Mississippi with a degree in chemical engineering in 1951. He graduated from Harvard University with a degree in medicine in 1955. He completed a surgical residency in Jacksonville, Florida in 1957. This veteran practiced medicine in Fort Walton Beach from 1960 until 2010. He was medical examiner for the Federal Aviation Administration for 50 years. He owned and operated several import car dealerships in Fort Walton Beach from 1968 to 1995 while serving his community by practicing medicine. He served veterans and community and active duty personnel for 10 years as hospital commander in duty. As a physician, he treated thousands of veterans and their family members over a period of 50 years. He served as chairman of the Okaloosa Island Authority for 8 years and was instrumental in the construction of the Okaloosa Island Pier we know today. He is a founding member of the All Sports Association, which honors outstanding athletes from Northwest Florida. He is a supporter of the Salvation Army at Fort Walton Beach and the building is named for him. He is a supporter of the Special Olympics and provider of free physicals for athletes. He funded a medical clinic for One Hopeful Place, a homeless shelter in Fort Walton Beach. He served as team physician in pro bono volunteer capacity with the sports team at Choctahatchee High School and Fort Walton Beach High School for over 20 years. He is the recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for his volunteer service to our nation, as he will soon celebrate his 93rd birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize Dr. Gerald Hollingsworth, who was recently inducted into the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame, where a plaque is mounted on the Veterans Wall of the rotunda of our state capitol, recognizing this honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gerald. Doc knows we were going to read about him today. He had lunch with us yesterday afternoon with our daughter's help, and lives still up in Rocky Bayou, and is a wonderful individual and still loves our community. One last note, help me thank the volunteer cadets from Fort Walton Beach High School Junior ROTC program and the chief and staff from the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for placement over 2,000 flags at veterans' final resting places this morning. In the mist and in the rain, 2,000 flags were placed, and we ran out of flags. We're going to have to give more flags now. But give them a round of applause. I won't talk anymore, but let us open with a word of prayer. Please welcome Chaplain Marcus Merriqueen for our invocation. Chaplain.
I'm honored to be here and to be able to pay tribute to our veterans, both past and present. Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, as the clock strikes the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, we gather to honor the brave men and women who have served their nation with unwavering courage and dedication. On this Veterans Day, the anniversary of the end of World War I, we remember service members around the globe whose sacrifices secure freedom for all. Today, we are reminded of the fields where valor was born, where the poppies stand as silent sentinels of sacrifice. Today, we honor those who have given their all, and we affirm our commitment to the ideals that they fought to protect. Lord, it is clear now more than ever in our history that our strength lies not only in our own resolve, but in the partnerships we forge with allies around the world. Together we strive to prevent the horrors of war and tragedies that follow, working hand in hand to build a future of peace and security. And as I reiterate and reflect on these sacrifices, I am reminded of your word. Greater love has no one than this, and to lay down one's life for one's friends. May we honor the memory of those who have served by committing ourselves to the cause of sacrificial service, unity, and the enduring bonds of friendship that hold our world together. Taking seriously the charge of John McCrae's last stanza in his poem, as we just read, in Flanders Field, take up our quarrel with the foe, to whom from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us, we die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. Lord, I pray for our veterans, our allies, and our nations. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for our advancement of the colors? Please. Advance the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? King Cook. Heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reed Soria and our cadets. Give them a round of applause. Take your seats for a moment where we have a little lineup to do here. We'd like to welcome to the podium Tucker Gordon, Maggie Gordon, Emma Gordon, Anna Gordon, Braden McAllister, Emily McAllister, Caitlin McAllister, Bradley Milner, Jackson Milner, Andy Jane Milner, is Andy Jane here? Mila Marquin, Brooks Marquin, Silas Marquin, Jody Marquin, It's our honor to welcome special friends who have joined us today to honor our veterans and celebrate Remembrance Day with us. And Reed Soria has prepared something special for you as we celebrate this day. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Reed.
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King. God save the Queen, the King, send him victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the King.
Thank you, Reed. You can go down to the podium. We now wish to remember our veterans by the creation of the community wreath. Let us now remember our friends and render them appropriate honors as our tradition is our tradition, let us first recognize our Gold Star families. Do we have any Gold Star families here, please? Gold Star families. Especially as far as we represent the Gold Star families. Your Gold Star families. From the state of Florida, Representative Brigadier General Retired Pat Manning. Please welcome Mayor Gene Hood from the town of Cinco Valle. Please welcome the mayor of the town of Shalimar, Mayor Mark Franks. Before Walton Beach, Mayor Dick Ryders. Representing England Air Force Base, 96 Test Wing Commander, Mark A. Becerra. General. Our friends celebrating Remembrance Day, Royal Navy Commander Chris Wilcox, and with members of the 80 Squadron, please join him, celebrating our Remembrance Day. Thank you, Commander, and thank you, visiting friends from Great Britain, Australia, and Canada. Representing the Air Force Special Operations Command, Colonel Patrick Deary and Mrs. Deary. Thank you, sir. Representing the United States Army 7th Special Forces Group Airborne, Group Commander, Garrison Commander Patrick Colleton. Thank you, sir. Representing the 3rd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group Airborne, Chaplain Marcus Merrickman and family. Thank you, Chaplain. Thank you, family. From the Salvation Army, Lieutenant James and Lieutenant Abby Milner and the Milner family, Bradley, Jackson, and Andy James. Lieutenants James Milner and Abby. Representing Liza Jackson School, Mary Esther Elementary, students and family members. Catholic Christian students are invited to come back and do it also. Students and family. And members of the Veterans Tribute Tower Committee, Terry James, Johan, Ursula. And now, ladies and gentlemen, there are plenty of flowers on both sides. Please make your way forward and help us build the community. gentlemen, give yourselves a round of applause for the community. Some of you may know the history of the Remembrance Day and Veterans Day being held together as a joint service. It was several years ago when we saw someone in a different uniform sitting in the chairs at the Veterans Day ceremony, and after the ceremony we introduced, and he was stationed out at Eglin Air Force Base for the F-35 program, and he said, you know, he was celebrating Remembrance Day and had a few of his mates there. And we said, sir, this is the last time you can come to this and just sit out. You have to participate. So from then on, we had this tradition, and we're so pleased to have so many from visitors from so far away to come and join us with this ceremony today. It's my honor to introduce, Commander Chris Wilcox from the Royal Navy. Joining the Royal Navy and the Fleet Air Arm in 2001 as an observer, following initial officer and basic training flying, he was streamed into the Airborne Surveillance and Control Cadre to be one of the first AB Indio observers trained on the Sea King Mk-7 ASAC and awarded wings in 2004. His service is great. His deployments on the HMS Invincible, HMS Ocean, and various Royal Navy activities bring him to our area, and we're just delighted to have him here today. And I can't say any more. Chris Wilcox, Commander, would you come forward and introduce our guest?
Thanks, Tom. I think you've just stolen about half my speech with that, why we're here. I'm going to do it again anyway, so but thank you anyway, Tom, for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished veterans, I'm privileged once again to be here for the second time in Fort Walton, regrettably inside. I do hope that the third time lucky next year will be in the beautiful Florida weather. But before you today participating in this Veterans Day ceremony, whether you know it as Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, or the original Armistice Day, its purpose is universal throughout the Western world, to honour those who fought for our freedom and to remember those who gave their tomorrow for our today. Whether deployed to far-off lands, in ships at sea, or ready to respond to defend our homes, I know that our colleagues still serving around the world will also have been pausing to remember over the past few days those that went before them. And we thank them for their service to our respective nations and for being ready to fight to safeguard our way of life. So for those of you new to the area or remembering here for the first time, you'd be forgiven for wondering why there is a British Royal Navy officer here at all, let alone one speaking before you today. Well, Tom's kind of stolen my thunder a little bit, but I do want to reinforce that I am here with my colleagues from the Royal Air Force, from the Royal Australian Air Force, and from the Royal Canadian Air Force this year, and together we are number 80 Squadron. We're fortunate enough to be based here in this beautiful part of the world and call Eglin Air Force Base in the Emerald Coast our home. What we do is we provide critical operational support to F-35 squadrons around the world so that they too can successfully defend our freedoms and live to fight another day. If you were here last year, I hinted that we would soon transition from being known as an acronym to being a numbered squadron with its own ethos and its own history. We did that. On the 15th of April this year, we recommissioned as number 80 Squadron, inheriting its history, a legacy forged in wars dating back more than a century, its stories, their characters, and their heroes. And that history is now ours to care for and remember on behalf of our predecessors, and most importantly, those squadron members that did not see the end of their respective battle. We're very grateful to Tom Rice and to the American Legion, Post 235 in particular, for continuing to invite us to participate in these events, and our number is growing every year as well. It's well on the way to becoming a tradition, one that we're very pleased to adopt as another symbol of the bonds and the shared values that our nations hold dear. I'm also very grateful to Brigadier General Massaro, whose team at Eglin enables everything that we do on behalf of our nations. And I'm also very pleased to introduce him to you as today's key speaker. As the commander of the 96th Test Wing, General Massaro is the leader of more than 10,000 people, civilian, military, contractors, and even a few Brits, Australians, and Canadians. An Air Force officer of over 25 years, General Massaro himself deployed to some of those far-off lands, flying combat missions as an F-16 pilot in the Middle East. In 2007, he turned his attention to the development of new capabilities, training as a test pilot and logging flight hours in more than 30 aircraft types, including most recently the F-35. He's commanded at all levels throughout what has been and continues to be an impressive and I'm sure extremely rewarding Air Force career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Commander of the 96th Test Wing, Brigadier General Mark Massaro.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to take an opportunity to get a look out here. It's fantastic, this view. Not everybody gets to see it. Sorry if I'm getting a little bit closer to do that. To see everybody's participation in today's event. And a special thank you again to the American Legion for rapidly setting up the venue here for us today, given the inclement weather. As I was driving in here, I was driving through the rain, enjoying the rain because we need it, but thinking about how it was changing the venue of where we were out in the cemetery, and a really memorable experience into an inside venue. I was thinking about the fact that we celebrate Veterans Day for the folks who chose to serve, not when the sun was out, not when it was a rewarding day to be there, but to serve when the time was the time to serve. And so in our small way today, sitting inside here today in a venue that's not where we imagined it to be, in a small token, in a small way in my mind, is one way that we can recognize that service. And it helps me frame my mind. So thank you again for everybody joining us to honor our nation's veterans. Thank you to our distinguished guests and the Veterans Tower Tribute Committee who sets this up every year. Thank you to all our distinguished visitors and guests from the community and our allies and partners, Australia, Canada, and the UK. It's fantastic seeing the numbers that we have here. And thank you so much for sharing your traditions with us and participating in our traditions. I've always thought about the fact that Remembrance Day and Veterans Day were so close together. There's some slight differences between them, but they're so closely connected. And we were talking about the Flanders Field poem earlier today. My memory went back to a time when I went and visited Verdun, which is another World War I battlefield. And just standing out there and looking at the terrain and thinking through the sacrifice and the service that those folks gave to their people, their nations, and the sacrifice that their families and their towns, their communities all gave in service to those nations to secure their freedom. It comes back to me when I hear that. So thank you for sharing your traditions with us today. Special thanks to Mr. Tom Rice for hosting today, for putting this together. It's a big event. A lot of the community members are involved, and I can see how much work this takes to make this happen. So thank you so much for that. Commander Wilcox, again, thank you for the kind words and introduction here today. And thank you for participating and contributing to the team mission. And congratulations on your score as well. Yes. Thank you, Representative Maney. It's great seeing you here as well. It's actually the front row of hats. Thank you to the 7th Special Forces Group representation, the first SAO as well. Thank you so much for the partnership that we have amongst all of our Team Eglin partners here. To the mayors of Shalimar, Cinco Bayou, Fort Walton Beach. I think I saw you all scattered across the crowd here, but thank you so much for the support that you give to Eglin Air Force Base and to all the veterans across the community. To our fellow military leaders that are scattered in the crowd here, thank you for your leadership. To all the veterans and your families, thank you for being here. And for the Salvation Army as well, thank you for participation in today's event. And there's some other folks here as well from Mary Esther School, our junior ROTC cadets who so graciously went out there in the rain today and put flags out at the gravestones and also presented the colors this morning. It's great seeing the participation today, so thank you. I'm humbled to be here and represent the men and women who have served and continue to serve our nation. The Veterans Tribute Tower plaque, which we would be able to see in Beale Cemetery, salutes the present and the past and inspires the future for all American veterans. And we're here to do just that, to honor our veterans and to remember those who went before us and to recognize their service and sacrifice and say thank you and understand that that thank you is for a debt of gratitude that we can never ever repay. Our veterans, as we called out earlier, represent service from all the way back from Korea through Vietnam, the Cold War, Desert Storms 1 and 2, Kosovo and Bosnia as well, global war on terrorism, and many other campaigns and actions that our service members have honorably and sacrificed to service for our nation. Since January of 1973, our U.S. military service has been voluntary. And whether our veterans were brought into service before 1973 to support our nation's calling, or chose to serve on their own accord, their acts of and commitment to service are essential to our nation's security. Roughly 5% of our 330 million U.S. citizens are veterans. That's about 17 million that are currently with us today. We're proud to call many of those veterans our neighbors, friends, and family members. Our obligation to take care of our veterans, service members, and their families is a national security imperative. Military service is demanding, and our veterans have given of themselves. On some of our veterans, we see the scars and pain they've endured. Others have borne similar trials and share the same pain, but we may not always see it. While veterans make up 5% of our national population, nearly 20% of our nation's suicides are veterans. We must stay connected with our veterans and support activities that focus on their support and access to medical and mental health care. We must stay connected with them, listen to their stories, and show our appreciation. We also need to recognize the support that veterans' families and caregivers provide. Their sacrifices are often invisible to anyone other than to their veteran, but their impact is appreciated by a grateful nation. Thank you to our family and caregivers. Today we have a strong force of young men and women representing every corner of America, facing new challenges and ready to meet them head on. They are our veterans in making, and they are serving at a critical point in our nation's history. Our world is at an inflection point. Our adversaries are pushing to change global order, an order which has seen peace and prosperity thanks to our veterans for nearly 80 years, and how we respond to this challenge will determine the direction of our world for generations to come. Just as our veterans sacrificed to preserve democracy, we understand that that is never guaranteed. It is our current generation's time to answer the calling to preserve, defend, and fight for our democracy. And I am confident we will succeed. Our service members, past and present, and our partners and allies are our most powerful line of defense against threats to our world. We will continue to answer our nation's calling whenever and wherever it takes us. And we will maintain our commitment to supporting those who choose to serve and sacrifice for the greater good. Thank you for your tremendous community support and for honoring our heroes who have worn our nation's uniform in service. Thank you.
Thank you, General. A significant date, 9/11/2014. The Freedom Bell was cast locally here in the community. And as has been our tradition of this first decade of the Freedom Bell that hangs at Beale Cemetery, General was kind enough to read the words that are emblazoned on the side of the bell. But on 2014, the bell was cast, and as it was cast, pieces of the flow of the bronze came out, and we had those made into coins. So General Becerra would like to present you with a piece of the Freedom Bell in its first decade. Lieutenant Milner, if you would come back and present us a word of prayer.
If you would please stand with me as we close this morning in prayer. Heavenly Father, we remember those that have gone before us, and we thank you for our veterans who have shown great courage and dedication. As your holy word reminds us in John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. May we honor their sacrifices and support them with love and gratitude. Bless our veterans and their families today and always. Amen. God bless you all.
British friends may recognize somewhat of an accent there. Lieutenant Milner is from Great Britain. but he is the newest citizen of the United States. His citizenship was granted 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Would you welcome him? Now, firing party, take charge. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And you know that you are invited to December the 14th on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for Wreaths Across America, where we will have a short ceremony and then place over 2,000 wreaths at Beale Cemetery. Thank you all for coming today.